Biff. And we are live. I am Mr. Brad Chester, the healthiest man in 40K, and this is Sean Dice with Rice, and we are here to talk about a metric ton of lists. Is that what we could say we're doing today?
That's
a
accurate,
metric ton?
yes.
I feel it's a metric ton. There's so many lists. You don't even understand. It's like there's lists, and then there's the amount of lists that we're playing today. And that shit is for real.
It was almost called Deal With It Listapalooza, but we refrained from that.
I'm disappointed that it is not Listapalooza now.
It's pretty good, right?
I also didn't check my lighting at all, and I refuse to check it. We're just going to look like I'm being beamed into the universe. I look like I'm literally being dragged into a Nurgling in the Chaos Space Marine. I couldn't figure out what Eye of Terror was called for a second, so apparently I was just going to stand here and have a stroke.
So it's Tuesday for you.
Yeah, nothing changed. I'm excited to talk about these today. You know what? We're gonna explode into it. Listapalooza.
Yeah, this is a good one for everybody who's watching. I know there are a lot of people that I watch freak out about Dataslates literally every single time, and if you just kind of like fall back on what Brad and I are saying with list building in general, you will not be thrown for a loop. You will correctly identify like what you need to care about from this, and then you will move on with your life. You don't need to get stuck in the, oh, my army's so bad I can't even play anymore. Okay, no one is like that, not even world eaters. Yes, Drukari's been bad before, but now they are the talk of the town. They're going to be great. So if you haven't seen this before, we'll deal with it. Usually we go over an army faction and we talk about the 5 steps of how do we deal with it. Today we're going to be focusing on step 1, which is how do you prepare? Well, obviously you got to know about the big Dataslate changes, and that's what we're going to go over today, Brad.
Let's screw down, because today is about preparation. The balance, Dataslate, and the meta. How should Dataslates affect my army list? And then list explosion, or Listapalooza, or 3 steps to be as awesome as Brad.
That's exactly right. I should have just named this 3 steps to be awesome like Brad. That would have gotten everybody's attention.
It's a real deal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. The cliff notes here. One of the biggest ones, we can't stress this enough, a lot of armies, it's not like it completely changes them, but like they get significantly better because now you are bringing reserves in on turn 1. Let me specify this. Sean and I are playing. Sean goes first. All of the things that I can pick up, scouts, bikes, Votan bikes, anything in Vanguard that I can pick up, 3 units from Grey Knights, 3 units from Hypercrypt. All of those things are coming in on the bottom of 1, and it is amazing town.
And this is very important. I know some people were still arguing about this somehow. Yes, this works. You can just do it. It's not was this an FLG or was this a GW tournament? No, this is literally from Games Workshop, the game designers, the people who make your rules, saying, this is how it works. Do it.
And they give you an example of doing it. So,
yeah, they don't want there to be any confusion here. All the things we just listed, yes, you can do them. So what is that? We're going to talk about what that means for your list as we get later on. The second one, Brad, ignoring modifiers. Why don't you talk about that?
Ignoring modifiers is a huge deal. Ignoring modifiers now ignores half damage. It obviously ignores hits and minuses to wound, but ignores half damage. It ignores -1 damage. It is fantastic, and it's one of the questions that you have to ask when you're playing against somebody, but also, do I have the ability to put this in my army? It makes a lot of things wildly easier to kill. And We have people that have auras, cough, cough, Morty. We have people that are just do it in their leader abilities. Now, it's a big deal to understand this when making your list and playing against other people's lists. So when we're talking about these things, you really, really have to ask these questions, because if you have a Catan that's trying to think that he can get half damage, and then Trajan did what he did before Love came to town and puts the beats on you, you're going to be sad. You have to be able to play around that.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. And then finally, we have stacking abilities. This is one that's not getting a whole lot of love right now, but as people start to find the cool interactions, cough, cough, Ren Master, things are going to get wild with that. So those are I would say, the three biggest takeaways from the rules of the data slate that changed.
100% on that. And let's talk about what abilities. Give a couple of things about the stacking abilities besides Red Master and stuff, because there's not a ton of them, but there's a couple that are really a big deal.
Yeah, so the Ren Master is the biggest deal. When you can take Flesh Hounds to potentially, what is it, Strength 8,
Strength
AP 4, 4 damage?
AP 5. AP 5 and 5.
Oh, excuse me, yes. And that's just a little 70-point throwaway unit that, you're demons, so you can pay a CP and let them advance and charge. They're beasts, they go through walls. Like, that's a lot of damage just coming out of left field, and obviously makes things like Bloodletters just go Super Saiyan. So be on the lookout for that one. They gave the example of the Greater Unclean one, which I don't think is super realistic. I don't think you have to worry about seeing 3 Greater Unclean ones at Rodigus running around the table. You could, if you're a Nurgle enjoyer, more power to you, but I don't think you have to worry about that one.
It is going to be a big deal going forward if we get more abilities. Like strength debuffs, stacking will be a big deal in the future if people have them. So things like that. Custodes are back on the menu.
Oh, yeah.
Dark Eldar, they're just a new army, basically. CSM and Eldar, they got bad touch, but who cares? We were talking about this right before we went live. They're fine. They're both top 5 armies. It's not even close. Necrons are number 1, and they are basically number 1 and 2 because of Hypercrypt and Canoptic Court. So World Eaters, everybody thinks they were bad touch more than they were. They're just not. They're just not as consistent because none of the rerolls. The army still smashes. Marines, depending on what Marines you play, actually either got almost not touched at all, or they got bad touched in points, but they didn't get touched in any mechanics whatsoever, really. So they're fine. Demons, we'll have to see, because there's a lot of potential demon lists between us MSUing it, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Your Grey Knights, the Dread Knights, actually have play now. The fact of ignore cover, another AP, hitting on a real number, they're all real things. Everybody else, your army probably stayed the same-ish. So we're going to check out some of the things we're really excited for because they're a lot different. For instance, CSM and Eldar now have like wildly different lists that are playable. We're going to spend a decent amount of time on those, just showing that, hey, people go, oh, this army got killed. No, it didn't.
Yeah, there's again, don't overreact to any massive changes here, and we're going to talk about in a second when you should change your list. But yeah, the takeaway here, just summing up Cliff Notes before we move on, the armies at the top got hurt, the armies at the bottom got pushed up mostly, and then if you were right in the middle, you really didn't change very much. And yes, I understand some points changed, some minor rules changed, but comparatively to where you were in the meta before, your place maybe hasn't changed. And, that's relieving to some people, like, Votan players are like, okay, so the sky's not falling even though my units went up. And then other people like Admech are like, so we're a 50% army permanently now? Yes, that's kind of where we're saying you're going to sit for a little while.
I love that. But what if I want to panic? Harlequin's got play. Let's not get all crazy. Come on now. But a lot of your armies, the core of the list did not change at all. Like, at all. Except, I love that we're like, hardly anything, and then you just list like 4 armies out immediately. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the exceptions before people yell at us. Like, yes.
But I don't even know if it's the exception on that, because you could, like, Eldar, CSM, and Drakari, 100% are fundamentally different. World Eaters, you could literally just take the favorite guy out and just play the same army if you wanted to. It's fun.
You could. I don't know. So World Eaters is actually the best example I can give of. Yes, you lost some things that were core to your list, and maybe you rearrange some points, and that's why we say the core of your list. You might take out a core guy. You take out the guy with favorite of Corrin, you take out the Master of Executions with the glaive, and you just replace it with, I don't know, Chaos Spawn or Karn and more Berserkers. That's what we're talking about there. But they're the best example of everyone else kind of got worse that was better than you, and everybody who was worse than you didn't really become better than you. So they're just sitting in this spot where, yes, they're weaker from where they were, but they're still all right. I mean, Angron's still going to hit you on turn 1 sometimes, and that's going to hurt.
100%. Now, this is a big deal because I say this all the time. You have to have a core of your list. So basically, stop restarting your list. You have to have a core concept. If you're going to come up with a brand new army, that's fine. But when you're trying to refine your army, trying to make your army the best it can be and play the best it can be in a tournament, you have to start exploding it and making it again because you're not getting good data. You can't solve for all variables. You have to solve for X, not the entire alphabet. Now, real considerations is why, and you should already not be changing everything around. You should be tinkering, and this is what the things you're looking for. Do you have access to ignore modifiers, which is a big deal? Do you have enough stuff in your army to actually have the ability to screen out turn 1 reserves? Do you have forward deployers? Do you have infiltration? Do you have the ability? Do you have a infiltrator unit? Do you have a techno-archaeologist? Do you have I can't even remember the guy from Imperial Guard? Do you have all
Dark
of
Strider?
Right.
Strider from Tau.
Dark Strider, yeah, exactly. It's any of these people. Do you have access? Should they be in your army? Maybe, you know what I mean, depending on what your meta looks like at that. And do I have any crazy abilities that I want to stack and try, basically? Because a lot of those things are really awesome. But remember, when you're getting combos together, what happens if I hit with the combo and then they kill the combo? Like, is it still worth it? So it's important to look at all of those. And the answer sometimes is yes, by the way. It's just you have to figure that out, and that's where testing and everything comes in.
Yeah, and this is where you need those extra points. I mean, a good metric is if you got your list and you're playing probably 1,500, 1,600 points of that list are not going to change. Like, the rules have not significantly shifted that much to where, we're starting to see 800 points of your army, almost half of it change. But that last 500, 600 points, yeah, maybe I do want to try out this new unit that got buffs. Maybe I do want to put, I don't know, more cultists in my Death Guard list so I can screen out my entire backfield for the whole game.
And it's important on that because you should always be tinkering because the meta changes. The meta is always going to be changing because we're getting, 2 books a month effectively where we're supposed to get in the future here. So you're going to have to be making small adjustments all the time to just say, am I able to play against these new armies? Yes, no. And it's important. Hey, I love it, Brandon. Also, I was going to make a Kroot Strider instead of a Dark Strider, because why not?
Perfect.
You want to talk about our first army? Well, at least I'll talk about our first army.
Listapalooza. Let's do it.
Power Ranger Eldar! This army made me so happy. Wayleaper, Avatar of Cain, Farseer with the Phoenix Gem. Basically, his whole job is to make the Avatar -1 to wound, and it's a cool model. Fugin, because I don't know how, but Fugin just went, there's no reason to put a nerf on me. I don't know how that dude just went under the radar. Karandras. Now, let's look at who's together. So Fugin's joining a unit of Fire Dragons. Fire Dragons and Fugin are getting out of the Falcon. You don't have to have them together, but it's nice. They get rerolls. They get full rerolls to wound. They reroll 1s to hit on vehicles and monsters. Also, if you're shooting Fire Dragons at, Kroot, you're doing it wrong, so shoot something that they're good at. But this is still a bonkers combo. Between Fugin being Melta 6 and the Exarch being, I think he's Melta 4, that's just bonkersville damage. It's 10 before you roll any dice, and it's 2d6 after that, and you can replace one with a fate die. You basically blow up anything if they go through. Karandras is just really nice to go with a unit of Striking Scorpions, who were always pretty decent, another forward deploying unit that isn't just folding when you touch it. You know, like Rangers are fantastic for doing what they're doing, which is screening out, stopping those scout moves. But like putting Karandras and the Scorpions on a neutral zone objective isn't a joke. They will put some things down. They also have a decent amount of devastating wounds. So I love that a lot. And then you kind of go into the usual suspects. 2 units of Shadow Specters, they shoot and scoot. 2 units of Hawks, again, they can pop up at the end of the board. 2 units of Warp Spiders, you've probably heard about them. They've been pretty good this entire time. Warwalkers are still fantastic at T7 -1 to win with a 4-up invuln with 2 Bright Lances and 2, built-in rerolls. And then this random trash unit of Wind Riders with Scatter Laser, because why not roll a piss ton of shots for hardly any points? I like it. This is something that actually makes me pretty excited to put on the board now that Eldar is not Wraithguard, 3 Night Spinners, and an Incarnate.
the epitome of everything Brad hates about 40k.
Yep.
Big bricks of units with dumb rules that don't play like the army should.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the kind of thing. Exactly. Scorp's got new models, which is great too, KR. 100%. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like, Riley, why Wind Riders over Shroud Runners? Literally because my Wind Riders, I have 100,000 Wind Rider mics, and I wanted to put them on the board. That is the only reason. You could literally flip Shroud Runners for Wind Riders in a hot second. It would probably be better. I just have boxes and boxes of painted Wind Riders, and I want to use them again.
See, and so, I mean, this is actually a good point why we wanted to do Listapalooza. Brad, do you envision this list just doing tactical every time, regardless of scenario?
Oh, it's not even close. There's never a chance, unless it's the LVO Mission 2 ritual with hammer and ammo kind of thing on player-place terrain. The only time I would do something. This is tactical for days. There's a billion small units that can literally pop up anywhere on the board. It just scores points.
I think that's probably where a lot of these lists are going to end up going. If you just default don't know, like, oh no, I don't know what mission Brad's talking about when he says that. Should I know that? No, don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself out about it. You've got life to live. Just play tactical.
It's a literally unbelievably specific tournament specific thing. If you're going to a specific tournament with a specific type of terrain with, you know what I mean? Like that, besides that, no.
I think that's going to be, I think it's going to be true for a lot of armies now. I think a lot of the cleanse, deploy, teleport, homer style lists you could build now, but they're not like head and shoulders above. Hey, I'm just going to play tactical and throw some cheap units in my list to do them. Especially with the ability to take things like, Pioneers and Votan and just like score on turn 1 if you go second. Swooping Hawks, being able to do it, Scouts, everybody being able to come off and do it means tactical got a huge boost.
It's such a big deal.
Want to play tactical.
You can actually just slam down a 6 on investigate signals like turn 1. It's just crazy.
Turn 1.
Yeah. It's such a big deal. Andy, we won't have a wolves list, unfortunately, because basically I was making lists like a madman, and Sean goes, I make these things. I need a moment. It was like, I refuse to acknowledge any other list besides these. So
yes, the spoiler, we have 13. We have 13 lists. So we're gonna go over. This is just the first one. You'll get some ideas, Andy, of where we're going. I did include a Space Marine Vanguard list because, spoiler alert, not a whole lot changed, and they're still really good. But moving on. Fastball.
Give me the fastball. This is so close to what. This is so good. This is close to what Tom played over the weekend and just crushed with.
Yep.
Effectively, you replaced Night Spinners with Fire Prisms.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I've said for 2 streams now, hey, you could just do this. Guys, this is what it looks like. This is not for the faint of heart. If you much prefer an MSU style and playing the game very, tactically doing your thing, you got the Arlar Ranger list. If you literally want to pay a CP to advance a Fire Prism up the side of the board and blow something up on turn 1 and give them the Incarn and say, hey, you deal with this. This is the list for you. the general idea here, well, let's go over it first. You've got the Autarch Waylaper, duh. You got the Avatar of Cain and the Incarn, double avatars for days. Farseer to give the Incarn -1 to wound when she goes in, and then to give the Avatar of Cain -1 after Incarn's done her damage. 3 Fire Prisms, because you got to blow stuff up. 2 Shadow Specters to be able to shoot and scoot. 2 Warp Spiders do the same thing, basically, to run forward and be little annoying roadblocks.
Literally steal objectives to score your primary, score your secondary and primary, to be honest.
Potentially get capturing outpost turn 1 if your opponent doesn't pay attention. Swooping Hawks to up down, and some Shroud Runners, like you're saying. Like just throw them in there if you want this cheap unit that can start going towards to get Investigate Signals on turn 1 with Swooping Hawks. Like this is a
bonkers fast, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, for everybody who doesn't know, they have Scout 9 and they move 14 inches. So they can do pretty much whatever they want.
Yeah, they'll go anywhere on the board, and it's crazy. And the thing is like, nobody really wants any of the either Avatar at -1 to wound in their backfield.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea of this list. This list, you know, I said you can play tactical. Obviously, you see it's got, what, six different units that just score tactical really well. But if your opponent was trying to mess with you and took, 11 characters and 12 vehicles, you can be like, cool, Fire Prisms, pick those up and score me points too. And you can just focus on taking their stuff out with fixed.
I'm going to go to the wall real quick for it. Kiara, the Shroud Runners, the bikes that are a little bit bigger because they have 2 guys on them. There's one guy with basically driving the bike, and then there's a dude with a Ranger rifle. No Eldrad, Fate Dice, not a big deal. To be perfectly honest, no. Fate Dice are amazing, but I'd rather have more stuff, and Eldrad comes with a bad power.
Yep, and if you actually take a look at the fastball list, what you'll notice is a lack of Bright Lances. I know, for shame, but when you just get the 6 dice, really what I intend to be using my 6 dice on are to guarantee charges with the Incarn after she comes out, to make 4-ups on the Avatar and or Incarn if they undercommit, and then to just flip things to 6s and Overwatch with the Avatar of Cain when people try to get in range of him.
That's a huge deal too. People don't realize that a lot. The Avatar has a sustained D3, 16 strength multi-gun.
Yeah, and when you can just, with the Farseer walking near him, I'm not even really near him, just kind of close to him on the board.
Within 12.
Yeah, you can just delete a unit that's charging you, or not even charging you, charging anything around him.
Yeah.
Basically, the idea of the list is you spend the first turn or 2 dealing with the Incarn, the next turn or 2 dealing with the Avatar, and by then I've already scored all my points, so I'm just going to throw Fire Prisms at objectives with a bunch of OC and hope that gets it done. Yeah. Good strategy, solid thing you can do.
It's a big deal in that. Let's go to my favorite. I'm so excited about this next list. Dark Eldar, 0 to hero, baby. Ooh, there's a bunch of different variations of this list you can make, but this is the Splinter Kung Fu Master list. Or detachment.
Splinter Force.
Yeah, whatever. So, the biggest things that they can now do is power from paid tokens now add +1 to your AP when you're charging. They added that. Also, this detachment gets ignore cover when you're disembarking, and it gets lance when it's charging. This, coupled with the fact that you can now disembark after you come in from reserve out of a vehicle, means that certain of these combinations are just putting down a dumb amount of damage. So you've got Archon and Drazar, which are going to be joining each of the units of Incubi. So there's going to be 3 Incubi with 2 characters. Lilith goes into the Witches. She now basically, when she does Power from Pain, she's AP4, they're AP3. And their regular guns also have anti-infantry 3, the regular weapons have anti-infantry 3, and they're going to be getting lance. And they have just like a monster amount of attacks. So, and they can also, if you want to fall back from them, they just straight make you take desperate breakout checks. So it's just crazy on that. The 3 10-man units of Kabbalah Warriors, it all go in a Raider, and you can put them off board because they can just jump in off of reserves and come in, and they get out and they ignore cover. You put a Power from Pain token on them and use 1 CP. You get full rerolls with double exploding 6s. They've got a Dark Lance, a Blaster, a Shredder, and whatever the other gun is.
but a bunch of anti-infantry guns.
And they've got a billion anti-infantry 3 shots. And it's crazy. And again, double exploding 6s. And it's such a huge volume, and it's so cheap. That is less than 200 points. You know what I mean? For the vehicle and the unit. It's just a great value. 2 units of Mandrakes because they forward deploy. 2 Ravagers because they have 3 Dark Lances. A unit of Scourges because I was going to run 3 Ravagers, but I needed 5 points, and they are 110 instead of 115 with 4 Dark Lances. And then 2 units of Reaver Jet Bikes with a Heat Lance because they move 1,000,000 inches. I don't even think I'm not even exaggerating. They just move so fast. And it's just so much shit with 4 Raiders and 3 Venoms. It's just the volume of stuff that you can put on the board. Is this the end all be all? No. Is this something that can definitely play into pretty much anything? Because I think you can beat any army by just going, I'm going to roll dice forever and just make things happen.
Yeah, my favorite part about this is actually Kabbalites getting a big boost. Just that combination that Brad mentioned. They're going to be focused on your boats full of Incubi or whatever, and then suddenly this Raider comes out, and these guys hit like Tau on the turn they come out. And you're just like, I was not ready for this.
Yeah,
I was woefully unprepared.
To be honest, Evan, there's a chance that I lose one of the units of Reavers and just throw in the Court. The points didn't just perfectly work out. But the Court gives you lethal hits and is pretty bonkers too. You would just use it on another unit that comes from reserve and just walk out and do the same thing. But it became weird in getting in. You could do it out of a Tantalus. It's just I needed more capacity because I wanted to come out of a vehicle.
Yeah, I like where Brad's going with this list. I think, I don't know. I love Incubi. They're my favorite Dark Eldar model. I kind of just want 30 of them, and I actually think it's not bad. If you want to do 2 Archons and Drazar with 30 Incubi and some Raiders.
Crazy. Well, Drazar just straight up gives him +1, so it doesn't even matter if you got out. You know what I mean? So it's just, there's just so much here, and there's like a lot of AP now with the Power from Bane tokens. AP3 on effectively anybody that has power from Bane token is getting at least AP3 on their weapons. Yeah. So it's just a big deal.
So I know people are going to ask, and we're going to say it again. Brad, do you want to do tactical or fixed?
Oh my God, this is so tactical. This is again another army where you have amount of guys. Yes, you can just score anything. Unless it's straight capture enemy outpost, you can score everything on every turn.
And even then, right? Capturing outpost is just a CP when you draw it. You just drew a CP at
you just drew a CP, exactly.
So I spend on, I don't know, double exploding 6s
double
when
exploding
you get out of a transport. Get out of a transport and charge.
Yeah.
You know, there's some good stuff to use there.
Yeah.
So there's basically the point of me mentioning that, folks, is yes, you could try to do deploy Hellboard Homers behind enemy lines and throw things away. I don't think you need to. I think you kind of want those CP from tactical. You kind of want to be everywhere all at once and be completely unpredictable from your opponent what your objectives are each turn. And that's something we don't talk about with tactical a lot, is your opponent can't plan for it. Like, it's hard when you're playing a game trying to remember everything you need to do, score your own cards, to remember exactly what's in your opponent's, card deck and trying to figure it out. Don't worry about any of that. Just play tactical, score what set yourself up to score, and then play the game, and you're going to find a lot more success with these types
also,
of lists.
You generate CP. Anything you can't score, CP, huge. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm okay with not getting something and just be like, all right, I'll dump this. I needed the CP anyways. So what's up, Nergomat? I'm very excited for this list because they were such a bad spot. They were just straight playing Dark Lances before. Now this list is like literally coming with a little bit of everything. This is the kitchen sink list. Yeah, it's so big. They should bring back kill points. No, they should not, because this list is up 283 million of them. I would lose by a lot of kill points. So now this is a list that I changed my regular list. I'm going to be trying this. This is really basically what I'm bringing now, except for I switched out Mazrog for Gazgul, and I threw in a 2-man Meganob unit with him. Effectively, I'm losing 1 unit of Squighogs. My regular list went up 95 points anyways, so I had to do a couple changes to it. But the main thing that I wanted was, I'm a little worried about the Custodes match, and it's nice to have a little bit more AP. Plus, Gazgul walks through walls, which can be an issue for orcs a lot. And so he can just kind of sneak up the board in a lot of, especially this is mainly thinking about GW boards, because I can just slink up the boards going to stuff. And he's also just not super easy to kill. One of these guys, I'll have a 2-up. 2, Makari can be just a nutbag because of, he's just got a Shadow Field 2-up invuln. Yes, you can't reroll it, but still.
Sometimes you roll all 2s.
Exactly. It's real nice when he's taking Dark Lance and las cannons and just shucking him like he's a Jedi. But like, if the big AP is a big deal, also Gazgo can just ruin stuff. He also has a weirdly good gun, which is Rapid Fire 4 base 12. So,
Shooting, man.
Yeah, it occasionally will do stuff, but this is basically what I'm already playing. I just wanted to get Gazgo in there because I am a little bit worried about the AP with seeing more like things like Custodes out there. A ton of 2-up saves.
Big takeaway here. If you look, guys, this is the same core that Brad's been running and we've been talking about for, I don't know, 4 months.
Yep.
It's almost like we practice what we preach here. You can just take your list, change barely anything after taking a few looks at what other people are going to do, and run it back. And against the guy who has just completely retooled his list or picked up another army, you know everything that your army does.
Exactly.
You know exactly what you want to do.
And that's a big deal that I was looking at this orc list because I was like, I've been playing a ton of orcs. I just want to just tweak my list just a little bit, but I know the ins and out of this list. I played so many games with this, and that's a big deal because I know how to play when shit goes down. When you have those bad turns, when you make a mistake. Can I play out of it? With this list I can, because I've played a lot of games with it, and it's a big deal. Meta Monday, he thought Tactical was the standard, but a lot of top players play fixed secondaries with just the LVO thing. Kind of. LVO is very specific in the missions they ran and the fact that it was player-placed terrain and the type of terrain they have for player-placed terrain. It did set things up for fixed being a lot more viable than it is in a lot of other things.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going to get the Sisters board with the little, like, almost completely closed-in pavilion, and you got that big ruin where you can't, like, shoot on 3/4 of it, you can safely take Cleanse and deploy homers and just be like, if I go first, I'm going to walk up, I'm just going to do these, and the entire game is going to be spent with you on the back foot.
Yeah.
So that's why you see a lot of that, and a lot of people play for that when you're playing player-placed. If your opponent is going to take Cleanse and deploy teleport homers, and that's what they're going to do, and you're playing tactical with a fast army, I'm going to get max points in secondaries.
Yeah,
so
you're gonna
I don't even care.
Well, the thing is that the only problem is that Sean and I play, and I take fixed, and he takes tactical, and I'm trying to do 3 actions a turn. He is only going to kill the trash.
Yep.
And I'm just going to lose the thing.
And the thing about fixed is you often can't score max on it. You'll get like a 37 on secondaries. And if your game plan is stand in the middle and stand on the objectives, I can commit my 2 scoring units, get 40 on secondaries, so I'm up 3 points, and then I can just throw away units to deny you primary, and you're really going to struggle to kill me or score.
And that's I want to go to the wall for both these. One, Brandon's like, they've taken it out of the last 14, they've taken, bring it down and deploy teleport army 11 times. You're playing Tau. Because your bring it down score is 87, I think. So you're an outlier. I want to go to DZ though. He goes, Brad's out on the list on Purge the Foe, big loss. I do want to say, I'm just going to give that just a couple seconds. Most of the time on Purge the Foe, if you're playing correctly, you're using your reserves correctly, you're getting big turns, your opponent's going to have 2 turns where they're going to get killed more, and then it becomes a thing where you're able to get a lot of kills yourself, but also they're going to have 2 turns where they kill a lot of your trash units, and then you're going to play the game more. So the answer is probably not, because you're going to hold more than them a couple times. So is it a tough mission? 100%. Is it like just big loss? No, because you have to know when your go turns are. I play Purge the Foe with literally that, like a style of that list at Glass City, and I would basically give my opponent 2 big turns of them killing the shit out of me, and then the rest of the game was me being able to nickel and dime.
See, that's exactly part of it, is when when you understand what your opponent needs to be doing against you when they take fixed, then if you already are playing your list that you've played, for the last 4 months, you're going to know exactly what you need to do and what you can kind of hold back to force them to play your type of game. Now, Brandon did give the example of Tau. Yes, if you have the ability, if they brought only vehicles, you probably should bring it down and try to find a fixed secondary that matches for you, just because you're going to have to play the game destroying their things. That's not a good indicator of everyone, the other 27 factions in the game.
They're just made of vehicles. Now, let's talk about Redmaster's Revenge, or otherwise known as the list that Kyle hates so much.
Yeah, he loves it. Oh, and I see, I'm going to go to the wall for a second. Jeremy has a custode question, and if you hold on for a second, Jeremy, we will get there. I have a pretty sweet custode list I want to share. For demons, this is kind of what I was talking about. This is, yes, Rendmaster's Revenge. We've got a Greater and Clean one with the Endless Gift. That's the 4-up Feel No Pain. You got a Lords of Change with the Everstave, because when you're going to take a bunch of melee units, I definitely want a solid shooting unit to make my opponent not step out in the open against me. We got Renmaster with Argas, so that guy's going to be hitting like a freight train, a normal Renmaster. 2 Skull Masters to go with 2 units of Blood Crushers. This gives Blood Crushers Dev Wounds. We got a Changeling just to do actions or to hold the backfield. 2 Nurglings that we can pick them up over and over again to score tactical. And then we've got, of course, another unit of 3 Blood Crushers just as a little trading piece. And then 3x5 Flesh Hounds. The things you need to know about this list. Yes, for whoever is about to say it, I do have 15... 16, 17, 18, 19 mounted units. Walls are kind of an issue. I'm right there with you. If you just wanted to cut a unit of Blood Crushers and a Skullmaster and take a bunch of Bloodletters, more power to you. I think this list has some real durability. T7 4-up Invuln is not stats that people want to see right now with the damage levels going down in the game. And what this list can do, yes, there's no Be'lakor, but when the Greater and Clean one moves up and says this objective is mine, and then you run up some Flesh Hounds, take another objective, suddenly you can drop within 6 inches of your opponent, and it doesn't matter that I can't go through walls because I can come in 6 inches away, and Blood Crushers have +1 to charge, which means I'm going to be rolling 5-inch charges into you. And when I hit you, I'm going to be hitting you at crazy numbers, like as we said before, strength 8, AP 5, damage 4. Like, those are numbers you just don't see in the game right now.
So Flesh Hounds are wildly underrated. Such a good unit. It's crazy.
Yeah. And demons didn't lose their great rules. You still can pick 2 units up at the end of your opponent's turn. You can still advance and charge in your shadow. You still have the hilarious ability to heal when you pass battle shock tests. This is a lot of things you don't see currently because previously people are just taking big boys.
Big boys.
They're just throwing big boys at people, and you don't get to see all the little cool things they can do, and how annoying they can be. But with this list, you absolutely can. And it's not a matter of can I kill it? It's I'm going to kill it. What do I kill it with? So I'm excited to put this on the table and give it a shot. I know Kyle and Brad really just want to throw Scarbrand out of a Be'lakor Pokeball and then play a million trash units. That's valuable.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing at all.
Nothing to see here. I may or may not have just destroyed everything.
Oh gosh, Brad, the technical mastermind.
I clicked the wrong button. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
But yeah, this list, good scoring, good damage, good pressure. The points changes gave this list, a substantial amount of points, realistically. And the change of stacking abilities. This is it. I think this list is great. I'm going to take tactical. I want that CP to spend on my awesome stratagems.
All of the yes. Some of the yes, some of the time. Oh my god. Talk about Silvertide while I fix the top of the arm. God damn.
Okay, so as everybody knows, I love Grey Knights. You're going to see me. Yes, I've been talking about 2 types of lists with Grey Knights for the past, 5 months. Going back to what we were talking about, not changing the core of your list. I am basically taking Dread Knights and adding them into the equation. Is that very bland? Yes. Does it completely change how the army plays? Also, yes. So in Silvertide, we've got 3 librarians. We have a solo tech marine, and then we are maxing out on interceptors, strikes, not quite purgators, but I do like having 2 units of purgators that can use the drop within 3 inches and either shoot somebody from behind a wall or to just clear out trash for an objective. A lot of times what people do is they use their cheap screening units and block you out from being able to go onto the objective and just hoping that one guy survives from your shooting. 46 flamer attacks, probably was going to pick up that trash unit, and then I'm going to walk onto it next turn. Finally, yes, Dreadknights are the new hotness. Dreadknights have the ability to advance, charge, shoot, and to fall back, charge, and shoot. When you combine this with the Grey Knight rule that just lets them auto-advance 6 and get fly, Dreadknights can fly around the board and don't necessarily need to teleport every turn. This is a huge deal when you've been playing Grey Knights, because being able to be on the board and hold objectives and fight back instead of just having to like stay away and run away the whole time is a big deal, especially since in this edition, Dreadknights now just armor contempted up. You're really tough. I'm excited to try this list and see where its strengths and weaknesses lie compared to previously.
The Libbies do a wild amount of damage, by the way.
If you don't roll ones, Grey Knight players, pour one out in the chat for how many of your librarians have blown themselves up.
I mean, but man, there's significantly more damage in here than there used to be.
There is.
Just because the Dreadknights got pushed up. And I do think that the triple Libby, for me, is kind of one of those, we should probably take those, because one of the checklists, you have to have all 3, which is, again, do I have enough damage? Do I have enough scoring? Do I have enough move blocking? And having this amount of Silvertide, I think checks all 3 of those boxes.
I think it does. And if you're noticing as a Grey Knight player, I'm not attaching any characters to anything. I'm playing everybody solo. I am requiring my opponent to have a whole lot of activations to actually clear my stuff. And everybody across the board has a 2-up save. That is a big deal if lethality in the game goes down.
This is another reason that Gazgul just showed up in my list, because of stuff like this.
Right.
Grey Knights basically popping back in, Custodes popping back in. I just wanted some more AP. And a save versus the sheer amount of dumb shots you're putting on me. You know what my Orcs and the Dark Eldar did want to see? Volume of shots.
Oh, yeah. The Storm, especially Tyrannid's Endless Swarm doing well at LVO. Hey, buddy, I got some Storm Bolters for you. I got a few.
I think that's a big deal, though, because of the fact that we're seeing more Horde armies. We've seen, specifically lately, more Horde armies. And having enough guns. I never want to lose a game because I don't have any option because of the way that my list is built. So that's a big deal, too.
All right, and then the second Grey Knight list.
This is, if you want to fly with this, I guess the baby carriers are still there, so it's still not that easy.
Yeah, it's still basically the same. If you love, but I wanted to offer this because some people really love Terminators. As Brad knows, I basically just kick ass with Dreadknights and infantry. I did it all last edition. But I respect that this is a real strategy you can take, and it is also neatly 2,000 points. This is the first time I built a Grey Knight list and went, oh, I got everything I wanted. Just all nice and neat, 2,000 points. So what do we got? We got Kaldor Drago. We got a Brother Captain with First of the Fray. We got a Grandmaster with the Sigil of Exigent. And then we have 20 Terminator bodies split up with 10, 5, and then 5 Paladins. Some strikes that you can dance around the board and sticky objectives. The 3 Dreadknights, because as I said, they're a really good piece to keep on the board, which are always going to get shooting angles. And the Calidus Assassin to also just dance around, vex some strats, what have you.
I want to go to Nurgle Mac here. He goes, these are fun lists. Thank you so much. But I do want to point out that is one of the things that we stress when we make our lists. We're trying to make the best list possible, but also you want to have, again, we're still playing with toys. So you want the best list that's the most fun. And it gives you just a better weekend, to be honest with you, when you go to your tournaments. You also practice more with them. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Grey Knight players are going towards more of like a Storm Raven type approach and just trying to leverage that unit's very high shooting output with Grey Knight just abilities and game plan. I do not think everybody just has a Storm Raven lying around. What I do know they have lying around is Terminator bodies, Dread Knights, and Strike bodies. And it's a good strategy still, I think.
If you want a Storm Raven, I will throw a Storm Raven at people. I still have 6 in the basement somewhere.
Yeah.
Screw you, 8th edition start. Oh, God. Custos, the golden bananas make their reappearance in kind of a big way. And I'm going into the middle of this list, by the way, because you know what my go-to unit is? A 5-man Alaris Terminators. Because of the fact that so many people have Horde and stuff like that, the Alaris put out just a dumb amount of shots.
Oh yeah, it's they. For those of you who don't know, I played this similar style list at ATC last year, and my Alaris killed literally everything from knights to characters, Terminators, just everything with their shooting. Just these strength 4 AP1 1 damage shots in volume rerolling wounds were enough to get it done.
Oh, it's just a ton of stuff. And for me, my go-tos here are, you start your list right now with Trajan. He just ignores modifiers. That's such a huge deal. Stuff him in. He's amazing. Can't do. Go over this list. I wanted the Alaris are just like a go-to for me, just because of one of the things that you can have problems with as a Custodes player is just the amount of models people put out.
Yes, that is. So let's start at the top, because Brad was right. The 3 characters I'm taking in every list, hands down, not even close. Just they auto-populate in every list I take. It's a Blade Champ with the Veiled Blade, Trajan Valoris, and then an Alaris Captain with Ceaseless Hunter. Then you have, the units that go with them. I'm always going to take 5 Custodian Guard. I'm always going to take 5 Wardens, and then I'm going to take 5 Alaris, and those just go with those characters. The rest of the list is just determined on how you like to play. For what I've chosen the Calidus Assassin, so I can just score a bunch of random secondaries. Also, the Vect is nice. I've chosen Curia Draxus and another unit of Guard, because her getting to re-roll her shots is silly. And sometimes, when she gets her power off and doesn't hurt herself, 5 Guard just standing in the open in position can actually change how your opponent plays. And I like that unit a lot for what it offers. Then you have my kind of I want to score all my secondaries when I take tactical. The problem I have with this army taking cleanse and deploy homers is when they target your trash and leave you with 4 units.
You don't have enough units to do
exactly
3 actions a turn.
Exactly. So this list is designed to play tactical, and that means we need to have some sort of different choices than just, sweet, I'm going to throw in 2 Caladius, call it a day. Instead, what I've taken, and I'll give you the exact reasons, I've taken Venatari so that I can ingress them in and score behind enemy lines, or to threaten their backfield, basically to make them screen. And that allows my Alaris to not have to leave the table and come back on to do something else. They can just keep that in their back pocket and keep my opponent always screening for it. We got some Witch Seekers. Yes, I know they don't have a Rhino. I only want these Witch Seekers to have the option to score Area Denial and me not throw a Custodian Brick in the middle when my opponent has a bunch of shooting, or to deploy homers on one where I go first. Then we've got Prosecutors and Henchmen that either screen out my backfield a little bit more than a normal Custodian list does, or I start them in reserve and just hit them with every single other unit I have, and these little guys walk in and do investigate signals behind enemy lines, engage on all fronts, and just really keep my options open throughout the game.
100%.
And going to the wall for Jeremy now, he says, I have 55 points open in my Custodes list. Would an Inquisitor with Dev, Wound, Psychic Power paired with a Custodian Guard Brick be a good pickup? I have hit that point many a time in my Custode list. Brad, what do you think?
I like more girls, to be honest.
I also think I want more just units to do things for the exact reasons that we outlined before, which is I need units to do stuff so my giant golden Henry Cavills can go and beat things up. I just need more guys to do things.
100%. And that's the thing with it, is I would prefer to just have more people, to be honest with you. It's just, the more options you have, the more times you can play and keep playing, even when things go wrong. It's just if you have all your eggs in one basket, if your initial plan goes to shit, you don't have an ability to pull it out. You know what I mean? So I'd love to give myself just a few more of any things.
And for other people, you always have your win condition as custodes of, oh, look, these 2 units just rolled all 4-ups. I guess I'm just going to have this table half now. You don't need to max out on guard. You don't need to max out on damage. You can, but basically we're preparing for fail rates here. I'm adding these extra units in, so I'm always scoring, even if I'm not rolling my 4-ups.
Yeah. Just give yourself an opportunity to have an opportunity. Hey, let's talk about one of those lists that really got beat up and nerfed into the ground. The CSM Gunline unit just bothers me.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to?
I want to do both because I do want to talk about the list. Like this weekend, we took to the team tournament. We took Abaddon, 3 units of Accursed Cultists, 2 Forge Fiends, and 6 Obliterators, and a unit of bikes. And WoW crushed all weekend. And they're like, man, there's so many differences. And then we realized we could just lose 2 Obliterators in the bike unit and play the exact same thing. Chaos is legit. Also, now with a couple of changes, you can really hit pretty hard. Like 2 of the units in here that I think are underestimated a lot are the 2 5-man unit of Celestial Legionnaires. Those guys can put out some beefcake distance here. Throw this down. Tell me why I like this.
All right, so you got Abaddon now. The Gunline package has always been Abaddon, 2 Forge Fiends, and a Hellbrute. You still got it. It's still there. It's exactly the same hard-hitting nonsense you always expected out of them. What we're adding to it are all of these MSU elements. We can't just say, here's 5 Chosen and a Lord, I'm going to kill your kill rig and all your boys and your Squig Hogs in 1 activation, which I absolutely did do. Instead, what we're doing is we're putting some Havoc las cannons that are Nurgle inside some Rhinos. Well, what does this do for us? Well, it gives me 2 las cannons that hit on 3s, but their 5s are going to explode and be lethal. And they're going to be far enough back where I can Nurgle strat them if I want to. And then when I don't want to do that, when I don't want to just turtle up around my Abaddon and Hellbrute, I can drive the Rhino forward and drop out some Havocs that, with the ability to have exploding 5s are just going to get it done because they also just ignore mods.
Well, let's talk about the fact of why it's such a big deal. Because when you're firing from a vehicle, the guys inside fire as if they were the vehicle. So, well, they're standing next to the Don. Seems good. Also, I heard Nurgle explodes a little bit easier.
Just a little bit, right? Just a little. And you by doing this kind of MSU element, it doesn't really hurt us that the marks have to be the same as the Rhinos, because the Rhinos are just there to protect our Havocs and let us shoot our las cannons with full rerolls.
Full rerolls that are doing exploding 5s.
Yeah, it's more damage than you want to see still, and that's kind of their deal. And then we just have all the mission playing elements. You have the 1 Slanesh Rhino full of Legionaries who are going to hit way above their pay grade, and then you have Warp Talons and Chaos Bikers to either kill trash units, go around the board scoring our points, and just allow our gunline to keep blazing.
And it's a big deal on this because this is a wild amount of shots. It's a surprising amount of las cannons, by the way. It's like full rerolls on exploding 5 las cannons. You get hit a lot with them and just go, how many times did you hit me with them? It was several. Now let's talk about this. This list is very different than the one. Well, it's very different and not very different at the exact same time. Tell me what the combos here, because there's a lot of things that go together. This is a synergy list.
So moving on, this is the MSU list I am kind of excited about. This list is basically taking advantage of dark packs at their fullest. Now sometimes your opponent can present something very powerful that you need to punch through, and we've taken the Master Possession and the Possessed to kind of deal with that. So starting off, you got Lucius the Eternal. What he does is he attaches either to Legionaries or to Noise Marines. I like Legionaries, but do whatever you feel like. and gives them fights first. In a custodian world, when you have a unit that fights first, that can change the math, especially when you attach the legionaries, you're standing on your objective, and you're rerolling wounds. When you're rerolling wounds and you've got exploding 5s to hit, you're going to drop a bunch of saves. Then we have the Winged Demon Prince with the Intoxicating Elixir. This is my rapid ingress threat I've been practicing with for, I'd say, about 2 months. He just forces your opponent to play different than you want. He's got a 2-up, 4-up, 5-up. He can advance and charge because he's got Slaanesh, and he's got exploding 5s. So they always have to respect that he can just come down, hit somebody really hard melee, but before he even gets there, he's going to start rolling. He's going to roll 6 dice to somebody he's in engagement with, and every 4-up's just going to deal mortal to them. Like, that is the ability to just drop mortals on tough things out of left field and then hit them with exploding 5s means this guy hits way above his pay rate. Then, as we said, we got the Master of Possession with the Possessed. They're undivided because they can get dev wounds. And now that the undivided strat has changed to just reroll wounds, perfect. That's the part I care about anyway.
I was like, I'm already searching for dev wounds anyways.
Right. So if you were unprepared, for being undivided, when you Dark Pact, you just reroll 1s to hit. So these Possessed are going to be hitting on 3s, rolling 1s, and then dev wounds, rerolling all wounds. And that's going to take care of pretty much anything you run into. At the same time, they're going to have an invuln and a Feel No Pain.
And it's a big deal. I like this because I like hybrid armies. Armies that can hit you from multiple distances, because this army works from 48 to melee, and it's got everything in between. So it's very nice to be able to operate because you can choose then where you play the game. Because there's sometimes in the game when you go, hey, my opponent doesn't deal well with pressure. Okay, my opponent only is very good within the 24-inch range. So you can start to play the game and nickel and dime them from ranges that they don't want you to be in, whether it be right up on top of them or from a long distance. You can operate from all of these, and you can also threaten them with the rapid ingress and just being able to push up. There's some really fast units in this army.
Yeah, everybody that's Slaanesh, everybody with a little S by their name can advance a charge for CP. They can also fall back and do other things for CP. But other just key takeaways here, we've got some Noise Marines that are going to shoot out of Slaanesh Rhinos with their Blastmasters. And then get out and charge with real melee. And instead of Obliterators, who are now a lot of points, we have just undivided Havocs with Blast Cannon, who just are going to start in reserve, come on, hit something, maybe use the strat, hit on 3s, can't change because they ignore mods. They're going to just hit on 3s, rolling 1s, and then usually wound on 2s, re-rolling with the strat for 135 points. Very cheap.
I still just want this gunline, just because I want the Dawn. There's something about rerollable exploding 5 last cannons that just makes me very happy. Let's talk about a list that I don't know if you guys are going to know. It was pretty good. Hey, look, it's a Canoptic Necrons. They're good. You know what? You can take 12 or 18. Sean and I have an argument about this every time we talk about Necrons.
Yeah, there's definitely, people are all like hypercrypt. I still like this list. I still think it's fun. I think it's fine. I beat up on hypercrypt last weekend with it. No problem. It is harder to play than hypercrypt. Hypercrypt gives you more options, and this one still has all the staying power you expect out of Necrons with a few more Wraith involved tricks. Also,
guys, I cannot tell you how great of a unit 6-man Tomb Blades are. Whew. With particles on those, blast, dev wounds on 6s, and the ability to shoot and scoot, it's just a good unit for what it is. I love it.
Yeah, your opponent is always trying to screen you and get primary that way, and when you just show up and then walk onto the objective anyway, it really throws off their plans.
Throw it out there. How do you play the Reanimator in this list?
Ah, okay. Yeah, so this is actually someone messaged me about too. The Reanimator adds an interesting dynamic to, hey, can I kill your 3 Catan? Some lists are like, yeah, I can do it over 2 turns, no problem. Well, with the Reanimator, you just can't. Because what I'm going to do is obviously I'm going to reanimate for D3. The reanimator gives me another D3, and then I'm going to park a Techno within 6 inches of them. And suddenly that Catan you left at 1 wound is going to heal 2D3 plus 3, and you just lost the game.
Yeah, he's
and
just full.
I did that twice when playing the tournament with this, because I soloed a Monolith, some Immortals, another Catan. Like, when you have that amount of healing, you just spend your CP on rerolling saves on your Catan, and it's going to live at 1 or 2, and then they just lose because it goes back up to 9.
One of the big things is you can actually do this in the Wraiths, really big it too, because if you're holding an objective and you can make it so that your opponent can't focus fire everything, just some of the things, you can just bring back almost your entire army. You know what I mean? Holding a mid or a backfield objective, and you just go, oh, you didn't commit enough, and then in 2 turns, oh, look, it's still 6 Wraiths. I mean, it's a big deal on that, because you can make people waste entire shooting phases, depending on what they're looking at. And as always, KR, we forgot. We should like and subscribe. Both channels, if you could, please. It's fantastic. It really helps us out.
It does. It is a big deal. Thank you, KR. What would we do without you?
Want to talk about some monoliths?
No, but we can.
This isn't my favorite. I like the court significantly better. I'm told that I'm a fool for my loving for that, but
same.
This list it bounces everywhere. It puts a lot of damage around, and it can score a ton of points. The monolith strats, the hypercrypt strats that work from the monolith are fantastic. 2 CP to just go zoom something out and pull it through the monolith. It can be game changing. So we're not poo-pooing on this at all. Plus, it's done really, really well. The win rates on this are crazy.
This is, in fact, Matt Laura's list. So if you want an LVO winning Necron list that didn't change at all, here you go. Play your monolith, enjoy it.
And the thing is like, the Plasmaster is no joke, by the way.
Oh, this Plasmancer actually is very good. I do like the combo of a Plasmancer and a Risen Tyrant with the Tesla Immortals. It basically turns them into the Canoptic version. So that one unit gets to operate exactly the same as the Canoptic Court Plasmancer Immortals. I do like that a lot because it gets the mobility to just dance around and shoot its preferred target every turn.
And this does have just all of the bounce around. This is very capable of playing against pretty much anything. The only thing that it does have struggles sometimes is getting touched early by something that could just push up and take the board, and then you
cough infiltrating wraiths, which I definitely did in my games.
I was just going to say, infiltrating wraiths just go, cute thing that you did. No, let's touch everybody.
Yeah.
KR, he goes, sad that there's no Silent King in these. I keep hearing he might have play now. He is very expensive, though. But yes, he is no joke. He can put down the beats.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, KR, because I do want to take a Hypercrypt list. No, not the preferred Praetorian detachment. Hypercrypt list with Silent King and a bunch of shooting. Because now that he lets them ignore mods and or gives out reroll 1s to hit and wound, now we're teleporting all over the board with real shooting, rerolling 1s to hit and wounds, or in Locust Destroyer's case, rerolling all hits, usually. They're going to have real problems with just that amount of Necron shooting teleporting all over the board every turn.
It just makes things that have 2 damage also amazing.
Again, yes, because you're going to ignore mods and just toast Catans. The problem with it, KR, is they have made 4 of the 6 strats for the detachment work with the monolith, who is also less points than the Silent King.
Silent King just needs to go down in points, to be honest with you. He's just wildly expensive. Let's talk about my Vanguard list, which is still basically the Vanguard list we were running before. It just has less shit because it went up quite a bit. Is it worse? Yep. It's got less stuff. It's got 200 and some points less stuff. Is it still good? Yep. Especially now that you can, every tournament, you can pick everything up. It's got infiltrating, Marnius Calgar with punching people in the head. You've got Phobos Librarian with a unit of infiltrators that can't be shot unless you're within 12, and then you can't deploy within 12. So almost always you just have a turn or 2 where you're just sitting on an objective and no one can actually affect you. Calgar and the boys is just a crazy thing to infiltrate because you can be very aggressive with it sometimes. Other times you're just taking a neutral zone objective. And the real heroes are the 6 Centurion devs with las cannons, which just start on the board and then just show up wherever the hell they want. And that's a huge deal. Andy, we were talking about the Inceptors, and I do think the Inceptors went up an unfair amount of points, to be honest with you. But the Plasma Inceptors, especially if you are using them on your own target, also if you just show up at 12, you can still use the strat for +1 AP, +1 to hit. And that still makes this unit pretty disgusting. Is it too much? Probably.
Yeah.
Will this be changed in the future? We put it on the board more, 100%. So, Eddie's calling bullshit on this list. Exactly. No way Brad is playing 260. This is definitely a Sean list.
Yeah, this is mine. This is the one Tom and I have started with a while ago. You can split the Inceptors up if you want to.
No, I was saying, he was talking about with the new points on it. This is the one I played at Everwinter, or not, well, this is what I played at Everwinter and what I played at, what else? I went 5-0 twice. So this list wrecks, but it does have less stuff. Is it worse? 100%. Is it going to do just fine? Yep. And this is one of those ones where you get hit. Now, the other list that we could have put up an Iron Storm list.
Or we probably would have done a Black Templars Gladius.
Black Templars Gladius, yeah, true.
It's basically the same. You didn't go up enough points to where I would take different things in my Black Templars Gladius list. I would just look to shave points to something else. Like, for example, in this list, I turned a unit of scouts into Inquisitorial Henchmen. Is that strictly worse? Yes. Did you lose 200 points in your list? Yes. So you got to make cuts somewhere. And that's the other thing where you can fall back on like these principles we're giving you, which is the core of your list is the same. So you already know what the core of your list is. If you want to cheat sheet that, you can just type in your faction into PCP and look at what everyone else is taking. Yeah, all those units that are exactly the same in each other's list, that's the core of your list. That's the core of your list. Yeah. Okay. So don't change that. No, you're not going to be a meta breaker. No, you're not. That's the core of your list. That's how it functions and works and plays its games, and that's what's successful. The rest of the points, now we can start playing around with, do I want to turn 5 scouts into Inquisitorial Henchmen because I have to? Do I want to cut a unit of Inceptors because I have to, because they're 260 points?
Do you want to choke out those company heroes? Because screw them.
Because Brad hates them, and I hate love them so much. I love them so much. That unit is so good.
I hate it.
It's so many wounds. All right, but yeah, so that's what you're gonna. That's why I wanted to include this list, and because I know I have a lot of people messaging me like, "Hey, do I drastically need to change everything?" No, just you accept that what you're playing is worse than it was before, and that is okay.
The thing is, which is still good. I mean,
yeah, you went from being in contention for one of the best armies when played perfectly to you're still a really good army.
I don't hate the company heroes. They never make that. I joke about it. I don't hate the company heroes at all. They never make it into my final cut because I'm always trying to squeeze something else in.
Yeah, if you hate them, just add the 3rd unit of scouts back in and throw Shadow War on the Phobos Librarian.
Yep. It's just, it's the thing is that I laugh about it because you're going to have that a lot. There's a ton of armies. And this is what we talk about the last few hundred points. You have to personalize your army. I wanted another unit of things, It's just how you want to play the game. But you have to figure it out for yourself. Like, the core of Sean and I bringing this army is 1,800 points of the same stuff.
100% identical.
Yeah.
Not
absolutely zero changes. And then we just nickel and dime the last 200 points and just figure out what exactly we want in that according to our playstyles. And that's important that you do that because not only is it going to make the list your own, but it's going to make you understand why you want certain things in your list because that's how you play. Don't just take the the whatever list and just play it as is. Go, I like to play more trash. I like to play more damage. You know, whatever it is that those last couple 100 points, that's what you start changing.
Right. And you see how quick I was to like, oh, you want that? Just cut this and this, bam, exactly that amount of points. And that's because we do that all the time. I know if you cut the Calidus and Inquisitorial Henchmen, you can add in more scouts and a unit of infiltrators that don't go with Phobos Librarian. I know that you can split the Inceptors up. You can cut the company heroes and throw in another Phobos Librarian to go with that unit. Like you do this so much and so often to the point of I just know every combination, so if I see that, I know exactly what they're doing instead.
I love it, Monic. He goes, any Unga Bunga list, these lists require too much thinking. We did only, tell you the truth, the closest one we had, the Chaos Gunline,
And the fastball.
And the fastball, yeah. Fastball Eldar, Chaos Gunline, both can just go buck wild. Especially the Chaos Gunline, you can have, you're playing like, I don't know, version 2 of GW, and you just get a long line like on a Crucible or something. Man, you can put out bonkersville damage, and your opponent will just be like, I don't even understand what just happened.
I'm just waiting for the. I thought CSM got nerfed, and you'd be like, the king is dead. Long live the king, and then you kill the rest of their army.
Yep.
Because that's literally what lies. But
Hold on.
actually, Manic made a good point, which is I think for the meta overall, thinking lists are going to be more required. There's less. I mean, you can still World Eaters. So if you want to Unga Bunga and not think, you can World Eaters. But played perfectly, World Eaters are very, like, you have to really think with them.
Ooh, you know what I want now, though? Because we already went over time. But I'm not even going to put up the poll. Just put in chat, what was your favorite list today? We'll see. I'll give it a few minutes for this. So, and then I have to wait for the delay before this even hits, so I can look at chat.
Yeah, but this is our, again, disclaimer. These are our first lists in a new meta where we have had no tournaments. There's no data to look for. This is, obviously, Brad and I don't have time to test all 18 lists immediately. I know Matt Laura's list is good because it didn't change at all. If you want something that is going to work 100% of the time and you've already been playing it, yes, the Necron Monolith list is good. For everybody else whose armies have completely changed, like Eldar, Dark Eldar, Demons, Grey Knights, I hope we gave you some really good starting points and places to think about where we would go if we were immediately going to start putting something on the board. Tournament tomorrow type deal.
I'll tell you what my favorite. What was your favorite, Sean?
Oh, the favorite list? The Infantry Grey Knights. That is exactly what I love to play. That list, point for point, is exactly what I love about Grey Knights.
Yeah, I did your Kari for me. It's just,
I love so much. Like, it's so much stuff.
I just love trash so much. I like it. Brandon coming in. I still think Eldar received less nerfs than Marines. This video just proves it.
Brandon, you're going to play your Tau and you're going to love it. That's what you're going to do. Tau is when I left off, importantly. I may or may not be taking that to a tournament, so I don't want to give away everything, but I have sent some people my list, and I am very excited to put some Tau on the table too.
And the only thing is you give up, bring it down, and assassinate.
I don't care. I play that way anyway. You already know that.
Yeah, I was just like, what do you give up on assassinate to bring it down? 83 and 72. Like,
yeah, it's like, okay, cool. So we're gonna start with you at max on bring it down and cleanse. Yeah, okay, sure. We're not even gonna write the score for that. I'm just gonna give you all my units. How about that?
Seems legit. So, as usual, everyone, please like, subscribe, throw comments on the video if you could. It does really help us to figure out like the things we can fix. Like maybe I should turn my lights on, even though I feel like I get hit by a train, so I don't look insane. But besides that, stay milky, my friends, and till the next time.